Texas.
Doing the time war, drinking those moments when the blackness would hit me and the void would be calling. Let's do the time war again. Let's do the time war again.
It's just a jump to the left.
And then it's turn to the right.
With your hands on your hips.
You bring your knees in tight. There is the velvet crust. It really does you insane. Let's do the time war again. Let's do the time war again. It's so dreamy. Oh, fantasy free me. So you can't see me. No, not at all. In another dimension, with voyeuristic intention, well secluded, I see all.
With a bit of a mind flip.
You're into the time slip.
And nothing can ever be the same.
You're spaced out on sensation, like you're under sedation. Let's do the time war again. Let's do the time war again.
Well, I was walking down the street just a having a think when a stinking big guy gave me an evil wink. He shook me up, he took me by surprise. He had a pickup truck and the devil's eyes. He stared at me and I felt a change. Time and nothing ever would again.
Let's do the time war again. Let's do the time war again.
It's just a jump to the left.
When it's turn to the right.
With your hands on your hips.
You bring your knees in tight. There is a velvet crust. It really does you insane. Let's do the time war again. Let's do the time war
Very superstitious writings on the wall. Very superstitious letters about to fall. 13-month-old baby broke the looking glass.
Alicia Simpkins is in the house.
Hi, Dave.
Yo, yo, what up?
I've been dreaming about this day to see you again.
I've heard that once. I've heard it 1,000 times.
If you just had $1 every time you heard
Every
it.
time. My wife's not on yet. That's
$5.
good.
That's a scary thought.
I can tell stories on how many times Alicia hung up on me.
It was all warranted.
Do all that you can.
Tiffany.
You don't understand when you start superstition anyway. Yeah.
Dog is that?
Well, good morning. Abrupt ending to that song. I was driving. So how's everybody doing this morning?
We're rocking. They're coming on. Oh, there you go.
Anybody back over there? Give me some, unmute yourself and tell me how you're doing.
Fantabulous.
Way to go, Big Dan. How you doing, JT?
Just terrific.
I bet that's what there's a few things that you can count on in life. And one of those things is that you will be just terrific every time I talk to you. So I'm excited about that. Welcome to this week's, hey, Stephanie, look at you guys.
Hey, we saw Big Dan's beautiful Labrador. We wanted to say hi to that little puppy.
Oh, that's sweet. Puppy. All right, let's fill some buckets. Who's got some gratitude they want to share this morning? Who's thankful to someone for stepping in?
I am thankful for Nancy and Big Dan this week. They have definitely been helping me through a couple of my transactions and learning a lot. However, with their knowledge and advisement, I'm able to do what I needed to do. So thank you to them.
Way to go, Amber Harvey. Who else? Who else has
Jay, I've got something.
Yes, sir.
The Tucson Association of Realtors has had a drive through the Realtors Political Action Committee, and I've called about 30 people at Keller Williams, and 10 people have already pledged their investment of $30. Today's the last day. I need 6 more people to do that. And when they do, we'll enter them into a drawing for a $1,000 Visa gift card.
Awesome.
So again, my thanks to those Keller Williams associates that have stepped up for the Realtor Political Action Committee, and I'm grateful.
Hey, JT, I'll go ahead and put us down. Tracy and I'll get on there. We'll do it today, okay?
Thank you, sir.
And JT, I would, if you're able to add information in the chat box of how people can get involved, that would be helpful as well. I'm sure
Will
other people
do.
would jump in. Awesome. Who else? Who else has buckets to fill?
I would like to fill Cindy, Cheyenne, and Heather's for stepping in while I've been out. So thank you for having me.
Why have you been off so long?
I had my baby.
Yay!
Congratulations!
Thank you.
Fantastic. Another realtor in training. Perfect. We're going to grow one way or the other. We're either going to, birth them or we're going to recruit them. One of the two. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else?
Hey, I want to fill Daniel Strickler's bucket. I don't know if he's on here. I think I saw Marissa. We had somebody break their key off on the door this morning, and my instinctive answer was, "Where's Daniel?" And he didn't let us down. He came in. Mr. MacGyver figured out how to get the key out, open the door, and we'll get it fixed. So Daniel, there he is. I see him right there, Marissa.
I got it, sir.
Thank you, MacGyver. You didn't
Not
let
a
me
problem.
down.
Always happy to help.
You did it. You're a great man. He just went right in solution mode. I think he took it as a personal challenge, is what I did.
Yes. Yes. Never say that. Thank
All
you.
right, Cindy, wrap us up here.
Okay, I just wanted to, in conjunction with Tiffany's, being one, grateful that she's back and thanking Heather and Cheyenne. But I just have an extra special shout out to Cheyenne. She stuck with me until 8 p.m. last Friday while we were working on transmittal and did not leave my side. And so way to go, Cheyenne. I appreciate all your hard work.
Boom. That's awesome.
I got one, Jay. It's important. And I need everyone to listen up. I just want to say thank you to all the Keller Williams agents out there for supporting each other and creating the family element that is taking this brokerage and this company to the next level. You really are the reason we are number one. I want to say thank you for each and every one of you and your efforts in helping each other out. Thank you again.
That's fantastic. Way to end it, Dan. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. We got anniversaries and we got birthdays. So hit that slide there, Kayla. Slide time. Lots of anniversaries this month. Hey, this is a good month to join the company. So if you know anyone that needs to join, you need to refer them over. let us get in front of them. But look at all these people that have joined this month, and happy birthday to this crew. Next slide. Look at you guys. So this week, go back one slide if you wouldn't mind. There we go. Teresita, Elizabeth, Ryan. We got a lot of birthdays this week. Melissa, Robin, and Cynthia. Happy birthday this week. Everybody else will hit you in the next couple days. Happy birthday. And let's go forward. Let's jump to our preferred vendors. And I know I saw Heather Tumler-Rich. Heather, why don't you kick us off?
Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you all. I just wanted to say thank you for the calls, allowing me to support you. It's been busy. I wanted to introduce you to my new assistant, but I think she's having a little bit of a challenge getting on the call, so I will, she's texting me. So what we will do is introduce you to her another time. But what I wanted to share with you is that I've gotten some information from my company. You know, this last year has been so interesting with COVID, and then having all these extra claims being placed across the board. I know that you all have heard me in the past. It's kind of a broken record. More people flushing toilets. They're blasting their air conditioning, family members using appliances. So we've had an overabundance of claims that we never would have expected. And this is an industry thing. This is home warranty industry. In July, we had 14,000 more claims than what we've ever had in a 40-year history. In June, it was 13,000. So all this to say, everybody, I have an elephant. Dun, dun, dun. It's an elephant in the room. And I am hearing that the company had to make a decision. It was either lessen our coverage, which I don't want to do that because we have phenomenal coverage, or we change the price. So the elephant in the room is that what I'm hearing is that we are going to be changing the price to our plan. That's going to be effective November 3rd. I'm going to get more information and I will let you all know that, but nothing else will change. Are still great, phenomenal coverage, just a price change. So wanted to let you all know that as I'm starting to gear up, and I'll definitely be communicating as we go further. Does anybody have any questions for me? Not something I want to talk about, but it's being honest. And
well, you would have told us the price if you knew it. So I'm guessing we don't know what it's going to yet. I'm guessing.
Yeah, not fully knowing yet. I'm hearing grumblings, but I don't know the actual number yet.
Got it. Thank you, Heather.
Now it's coming, but they tell us November 3rd is with the day that they're going to have the final. But I'll get the information to you sooner than that.
So everybody will know November 2nd.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you for all of your support, everybody. I really appreciate you. I'm here to support any way that I can. Don't forget that $100. We give $100 back for that that Happy Home Lock and Hardware. And just really appreciate you all, my Keller Williams family.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Heather. I saw Trisha Hooper. Trisha, will you tell us what's going on in title? Trisha Hooper. Going once. Going twice. All right, we're going to move on. Hey, David, I think you got a guest in your office. Rich?
All right, and we want to go. So we are social distancing. I'm just going to hand it over here to Mr. Rich Osborne. He's in my office. So, Rich, you got the floor.
Oh, good morning, everybody. I'm here with David. I'm just going to give a quick kind of what I call a mortgage minute. So the agencies, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, have extended their COVID overlays on borrowers through October 31st. If I had to bet, and I would bet heavily on this, I would say that's probably going to be the same through the end of the year. Really, the borrowers that are impacted the most are your self-employed clients. They require not only the 2 years tax returns, but if they don't have an audited year-to-date profit and loss, which I have been doing this a long time and never seen one set of borrowers with an audited P&L, they do have to provide 2 months of bank statements so that we can see that the revenue going into their bank accounts is really what they've been making and we're trying to qualify them at. So if you have self-employed clients and you want to urge them and really nudge them to kind of start the process sooner rather than later. But otherwise, I look forward to hopefully getting to know you and working with all of you. And you have a beautiful office here. I'm here on the East River Road office, so it's going well.
Awesome.
So guys, you're going to learn on here. Thank you guys. We're in here, really excited to have Rich in here. You're going to hear him. A lot more from him. We're also going to be putting together mastermind groups on using the app. This is our in-house mortgage company. We use the company. It benefits us in all kinds of areas. They're going to be able to benefit us in, maybe sponsoring things even, and also just help in, they actually benefit in profit share for the market center. So because it's owned by the company, the profits of this mortgage company actually benefit our profit share and benefit our company as a whole. Rich is not just a marketing agreement. He's one of us in our company. You don't work for any other mortgage company. And you have the ability to use any mortgage company that you desire to use who agrees to be on our platform. The only caveat in there is they have to agree to be a part of our platform, and we can help you do that. So if you got a friend you want to use and use IntroLend, our in-house mortgage, you come see me or you even call Rich, and we'll talk about how they become part of our platform of doing it. So really cool process. I refinanced, Tracy and I refinanced our house there in Tucson through IntroLend. We were, I think, the first, maybe second closing through there on a refi. And so it's there, it works, and you'll see him on our Zoom, see him in person, and then he'll be expanding his team as we grow. So pretty exciting.
Awesome. Let's go to Kayla. Kayla, you got a fun activity as we kick off October here. Tell us about it.
So it's Halloween time at Keller Williams, Southern Arizona.
Boo.
It's gonna look a little different this year so that we can respect social distancing. So what we've done is it's called You've Been Booed. And basically it's like a Halloween version of a Pay It Forward, and we're gonna keep it within our Keller Williams family. So the staff here is going to be starting off the booing. So we'll be delivering some gifts, and it's like as simple as some candy, maybe some silly string, trick and treat, and then you just pay it forward. So when you get booed, you're gonna boo 2 more agents in your market center or in another market center, and then it's just gonna spiral. So it's a huge culture piece for us, I think. Let's spread the Halloween spirit, eat some candy, and there'll be all these little forms at all of the front desks so you can put it with all of your treats.
I got my form already, ready to go. I'm ahead of the curve because people from Alabama typically ahead of curves.
So now I know what that email was for, Kayla. You've been booed. Now I got to figure out what to do with it. So
yeah.
I want wine, David.
You want wine? Got it. This is a no whining zone.
Nice. Well, all right. That is all the early stuff. David, do you want to introduce our guest speaker?
Yeah. So guys, I want to introduce our guest speaker. I'm really excited about this here today. We have a really good friend of mine named Alicia Simpkins out of Northern California. And I've had the luxury of coaching Alicia in different phases of her career and her life. And when I went in and became the OP, I stopped coaching one-on-one maps. A lot of y'all know that. And so I'm always in conversations with Alicia. It seems like they got the best of all worlds. I continue to get to coach them, and they don't have to pay for it. So it's I love having these lifelong relationships with people like Alicia who reach out, and just seeing her grow as an agent and a person, and honestly seeing her grow as a mom and as a wife. And I've coached her whole team for years and seen her, and she's one of the most talented realtors out there. And as we all know, talent is overrated, and that balance is more important. And how do you become, here's the question of the day, how do you build an empire and stay in balance? And I think that's a question we all are asking ourselves. So she's written a class. I'm going to let her introduce the class. We texted out. We sent her video. Love to see people on here for it. And for 45 minutes, you're going to listen to Alicia's story and let her talk about how to build an empire and still have balance. So without further ado, one of my favorite people in the world is Alicia Simpkins. You got the floor, Alicia.
All right. So first, I just want to say thank you. Like you said, you have maintained friendship and stayed in my world, which I am forever grateful for. I've gone through several MAPS coaches, and I have never had one as important in my world as you. So I feel honored that you take my phone call still, even though there could be tears on the other end, and you are always willing to support me with my growth. So I really appreciate that.
And I do that, you know, that's the wonderful thing about the culture of our company I was brought up to do. And so that's, you do the same for others. We pay it forward. And just so you know, she may not tell you about the stories of the time she's hung up on me because she didn't like what I had to say.
That's true. That's true. But I do share those stories, and I share them with love and grace. So thank you for hanging up on me as well and telling me that if I say one more curse word, you're going to end the conversation. So I will never forget those calls. So as Dave shared, I have built an empire, and I've built an empire while my world was falling apart. And I've also learned in a hard way to build an empire and maintain the important relationships in my life. So I do have a PowerPoint here that I'll be kind of bouncing back and forth with. It's harder to get some interaction on Zoom, but I am all for interaction with you guys. And if I ask a question, I'd love for you guys to feel comfortable to participate. When I wrote this course, I had to be extremely vulnerable. In fact, my 2020 word is vulnerability. And if it makes me feel uncomfortable, I typically force myself to say yes. So the course that you're going to see or hear from me today is how to build an empire without your kids hating you. I am going to share my screen, tell you first a little bit about myself. I have been married for 14 years. I have 3 beautiful children that range from 11 to 21. I've been in real estate for 14 years. I am in Gary's top 100. In fact, I was lucky enough to have a one-on-one with Gary a few months ago, which he turned into a life video. So you can see that on the Keller Williams site. I've sold a minimum of 75 homes each year for the last 6 years. I have actually made over $6 million in my 30s. And I thought Dave would like if I put that I'm still in my 30s, just to prove that I'm much younger than him. And I am in the top 1% of my region in real estate. I just find that it's important to tell you guys a little bit about me, because sometimes as we listen to these people, we want to make sure that we're listening to somebody who has experience and you can hopefully learn from. So I'm going to share my screen again. Going through and building this course, I realized I had to answer the hard question. What happened to me? And I realized that I felt like I had something to prove. And I felt like I had something to prove because I was raised in an environment that success wasn't really an option. I grew up with 4 siblings, but my mom decided to get pregnant the same time I did. So my youngest sibling is not in this photo. I grew up in a very abusive environment. My dad was physically abusive, mentally abusive, not just to us kids, but my mom. So I had to watch him beat my mom and just say awful things to my mom, which I just kept thinking, there's got to be a different life out there. Oftentimes we had no water. We had no power. I remember being 6 years old living on the Russian River in Monterey, and if we wanted to use the restroom, we had to get a bucket on the side of our toilet, walk across the highway by ourselves, fill up the bucket, and dump it in the toilet so that we can actually use the bathroom. The punishments were awful. If we were in person together, I'd show you some of the things that my dad made us do, but I'll save those for when I get to fly out and be in person with you guys. My mom finally did get the courage to leave my dad, and she found that she had some passions in life. Unfortunately, her passions were men and drugs and taking advantage of the system. So we got to experience an awful lot the next 13 years growing up in my mom's house. I personally went to 10 different elementary schools. I was evicted more times than I can remember. In fact, walking up and seeing the eviction notice just became a normal thing for us growing up. My mom sometimes wouldn't even come home at night. My friends loved coming to my house because they called it the party house, because we could basically do whatever we wanted. Most of the time we didn't have power, so they thought it was even more fun to have parties at my house. We had one home in particular that we did spend more time in than the rest. That particular home, my mom had a roommate. And I used to remember as a young child going in, so you'd walk through our only bathroom at the time to another room where the roommate lived. And the roommate worked with my mom at Denny's. She worked the night shift. So oftentimes they would sleep all during the day. And we would go into the bathroom to this awful smell. There would be tin foil and lighters kind of sitting around. And I never understood what that smell was until I got a little bit older. And I realized that it was a drug, which you don't hear of very often, at least here, crank. And the smell would literally burn your nose. You'd walk in the bathroom and it would just be this awful, horrendous smell. My friends would come over and thank goodness wouldn't know what it was, but just knew something was wrong. With her taking advantage of the system, she was very clever in finding ways for us to eat. We don't have the restaurant here, but growing up in Santa Rosa, we had a restaurant called Fresh Choice. And it was a salad bar where you'd walk in, you'd pay, you'd go get any soup, salad, whatever it was, and you'd go sit down at a table. And my mom, we would call it backdoor foods growing up, because my mom would go through the back entrance and we would each have to grab a dirty bowl or plate off the table. We'd go wait in line. And the good thing is when you went through the line for a second time, they let you exchange your dirty bowl or plate for a new one. So we didn't have to eat off dirty plates, but that's how we would eat part of the time. The other part of the time, my mom had a clever friend who could alter birth certificates. And she found out that with Denny's, because she worked there, when it was your birthday, you got a free meal. And in Sonoma County, we had tons of Denny's restaurants. So we would go to different Denny's and it would be someone else's birthday and we'd all kind of share the meal. That was most of I can tell you guys 20 other stories, but as a mom now, hearing other people having to experience that, it just breaks my heart. So I won't share those types of stories too much with you, but I was a teenage mom. So me growing up in the environment that I did, most people who met me thought that there was a chance that I could be something, because I was disgusted with the family that I grew up with, and I made a choice to excel at school. And I realized later in life that the only place I was really seen was at school. So any opportunity I had to get awards, I would. I mean, I had president's honors, honor roll, any award you could think of, I got at school, because it was the only place that I was seen in a positive way. I also knew it was my safe zone. I went there and I was cared for at least 6-7 hours a day. I had power, I had food, and I had teachers who really saw me. So going to school was something that was really important to me. So when I became a teenage mom, you can believe that I got the looks of, well, there she goes. She is going to be just like her family. And even though I made a mistake by having a baby much earlier in life than I hope my kids choose, it was what God had planned for me. And I made sure that going through that experience didn't allow me to go backwards in life. I had my son on a Thursday night, and this happened to be the only year that my high school, Elsie Allen in Santa Rosa, tried something that was an awful, awful trial, but it was what God had put in my life at the moment for the right reason. And they tried to do a small pregnancy section inside my normal high school, where 10 moms brought their babies who were as cute as can be, because they didn't see them screaming at night. They just saw the cute babies through the window. But that was our elective. And so for me, having my baby on a Thursday night and not wanting to be any different, I went back to my regular high school on Monday and brought my baby boy. I'll share another quick story with having my baby. So my dad called on Friday, had my baby on Thursday. My dad called me on Friday and said, "Congratulations, I hear that you just had a baby and I can't wait to meet him and I'll be there on Sunday." Well, he clearly didn't specify the year, because my son is 21 and he's never met any of my children. So again, just telling you guys a little bit about my story. I say these things because I think it's what created the type of person and the work environment that I created for myself. We were evicted, and I'll tell you that story a little bit later, but I had custody of my little brothers when I was 17. It was right before I had my son. I tell people I got emancipated, but the truth is in order to get emancipated, you need someone fighting for you. And there was nobody fighting for me. So my mom just signed over anything she needed to make sure she didn't have to care for me and my brothers. So I, at one point, was homeless and pregnant. And again, I tell you guys these things not so you feel bad for me, but I want you guys to understand why I worked so hard. I mean, my main goal in life was to create a life for my family that I never had. So I had visions. Most people had visions of their wedding and what they wanted it to be. But my vision was my career and the type of mom that I could be. And my son was a only child for 9 years. So before I started real estate, I was the best mom that you could imagine. I volunteered at his school every single week. I went to not only every game, which my mom didn't of mine, but I went to every practice. Anything that I could do that was different from the life that I had, I did. So I wanted this massive, massive life. I wanted to live a life bigger than most people could even dream, because for me, that was all I pictured growing up, was a life where my kids never had to worry about food or power or water or any struggling situation. I knew that it was up to me to make it different for my kids. So I worked once I found real estate and realized that this was a career where I get paid in direct proportion of the work I put in, I knew that I was never going back to being hungry. And I worked my butt off in real estate. I mean, I was the first one in, I was the last one to leave. I did 6 open houses a weekend. And I found out that I was really, really good at making money. Like, that was easy for me. But with my success came massive guilt. Like, I was never home anymore. And when I was home, I was on my phone. I didn't realize how to have that balance, because all that was sticking in my mind was what I needed to do to make sure that my kids never had the life that I had to live, or the struggles that I had. So what I did was vacationed, like an awful lot. And that's how I made it okay in my mind. Those are my 3 beautiful babies right in the middle of the screen. But we went everywhere you could imagine. Like, we went to places that you only see in magazines or read about. I would tell them that the more I got to work, the more vacations that they got to go on. I would actually guilt them into letting me be on the phone an awful lot, because I would tell them that if mom didn't answer the phone call that there was a good chance that we didn't get to go on vacation. And it was a sick way in my mind that I was able to justify, I thought, the life that they needed. One time I was in Maui with my family, and Olivia, who's the youngest in the rainbow bathing suit, we were walking on the beach, and she had to have been 5 years old. And we're walking on the beach, just her and I, and all of a sudden she says, "Put away your phone." And two things became apparent for me. The first thing was I didn't have my phone. I didn't have my phone on me. But the second thing was, if she were to say that 9.9 times out of 10, she would have been right. I had my phone all the time. I was constantly working and on my phone because, again, for me, creating the life that they needed was creating an abundant amount of money that would allow me to do the things with them that I thought they needed. And I became obsessed with my work. Like, I seriously got so lost with my priorities that I would shush my kids. Like, I would tell them that, I would basically show them that my clients were more important than them. I was incredibly good at making money and creating a life that I thought my kids needed. And one time I dropped Olivia off at school, and she was in 4th grade, and I pulled up on the side of the road, and I basically kicked her out of my car, and I said, I'll show me really quick so you could see me. And I kicked her out of my car, and I said, Mom needs to get to work. It's Tuesday morning and I need to get to my team meeting. And she looked at me and said, "Well, can't you walk me in today?" And I went, "No, because you took 10 extra minutes finding your shoes today, and I don't have time now to walk you in. I'm going to be late for my own team meeting, and we all need to be on time, so I can't walk you in today." And the look on her face was just, it was heartbreaking, honestly. Here's what I realized. I realized that I have 180 days of, well, Liv has 180 days of school. And I took Liv 2 times a week. That was my responsibility. My husband took her the rest, which meant that I had 72 opportunities to walk her into school. Something that would take 5 minutes, but would last a lifetime of memories for her. It's not her problem that I'll be late to my team meeting. Honestly, that's an adult problem. That's something that she should never have to think about or experience. As a 4th grader, she's worried about, is Tommy going to be mean to her today? Or is the teacher going to call on her today and make her read out loud? Things that a 4th grader should be worried about was something that I was taking away from her and making her live an adult life. And that wasn't fair. It wasn't anything that I ever dreamed of doing to her or creating the life when I pictured it that I wanted her to live. So at that moment, I could see that she was totally broken. And it reminded me, so I wanted to save the story of the last time that I was evicted, because it reminds me of this moment. And as a junior in high school, I came home one day and saw the note on the door and thought, well, here we go again, moving to our 15th home or whatever it was in my childhood. And day 25 came, and my mom always figured it out. She just always did what needed to be done to make sure that we had a place to go. So I sat on her bed, and I'll never forget where her bed was, where she was sitting at the moment. And I walked into her room and I sat down next to her. And I said, "So where are we going?" And she looked at me and said, "I don't know. Where are you guys going?" And my brothers were 13 and 14, and I had just turned 17. And that moment was such a pivotal moment in my life. I was broken. Like, I remember, and I still have that overwhelming feeling when I think about this moment, because she didn't care about me. She wasn't worried. She didn't know what we were going to do or if we were going to be able to survive, but she was okay with that. So for me, looking at my baby girl and having her tell me that she's okay when I knew that I broke her inside was something that I knew that I had a major problem. Like, I knew that I had a major problem and I didn't quite know what to do. Because what I realized driving to work that day, as the tear was coming down my face, I realized that my clients were getting the best me. They were getting fun Alicia and energized Alicia and nice Alicia. I realized that everybody out there in the world, they loved me. But the four most important people to me, my husband and my children, they didn't. They didn't get this Alicia. They got me walking in being exhausted, like truly exhausted from work. I was short with them. I was frustrated with them all the time. I realized that I could do 100 things at work, but I couldn't find the time to do one thing with my children at home because I was spent. I gave all of my energy and the best me to my clients that I put my children and my husband in second, third, fourth, sometimes 100th place. So I found a way to deal with it. I found my coping mechanism. And with my coping mechanism came my big drinking problem. I drank all the time. It was the thing that numbed me. It was easier for me to stop hurting while I watched my family fall apart. It was the thing that I looked forward to when I would drive home instead of looking forward to hugging my husband or hugging my kids. I looked forward to pouring that glass of wine or opening that beer or putting the vodka in the glass. It was what made me feel a little bit normal again. And I say that it numbed me and it was easier to watch my family fall apart in full transparency because it was an awful time in my life. My girls were fighting all the time. My marriage was literally falling apart right in front of me. And my son, he started taking pills and I didn't notice. And this is the boy who can walk in a room and light up the room. Everybody loved my son, Izzy. And he started taking pills and I didn't even notice. And that's when I realized that, and I get super emotional every time I tell that part of the story because it still is one part of my life that I don't forget. It's hard for me to forgive myself. But I was ignoring the whisper so much until the screaming started. That was where I truly realized I had a problem, like a big, big problem. And you hear Gary talk about the balls all the time and that work is rubber and family is that glass one. Well, I had cracked my ball. Like, it didn't shatter yet, but it definitely cracked. And I remember that year, one of our vacations was to Mexico. And we went to Mexico. We met this amazing family. And we're sitting in the pool one day, and I asked the husband if he wanted to go get a drink with all of us at the bar. And he said, "No, I don't drink." And I went, "Well, we're at an all-inclusive resort. Why did you come here if you don't drink?" And he said, "Because my wife and my girls like to drink, and so that's why we came." And I wanted so bad in that moment at the pool to ask him how he knew he had a problem. Because I knew I had a problem, but I didn't know how to get help. And I was afraid to ask or to acknowledge that I had a problem. But my counselor told me these words, which I'll never forget. She said, "You have a drinking problem when the drinking's causing problems." And it was causing major problems for me. So I mustered up the courage over the next few days to ask him how he knew he had a problem. So we were sitting in the lobby one day and I said, "I have to ask you a question that I hope isn't too personal. How did you know you had a problem?" And he told me a quick story about how he would stop by the store on a Thursday night and get a 30-pack of beer. And if not by Friday night, definitely by Saturday morning, he'd stop at the store and grab another 30-pack. And he coached his daughters in softball. And when he would pull up to the softball field, half of the time he wouldn't even be coherent. He wasn't present, and he watched that part of his world fall apart. But then John said something to me that I don't know if he realized what an impact it had on me. He said, "My wife asked me if I would go away for the weekend with her and the girls. And immediately in my mind, I thought, is alcohol involved? And the minute I realized that it wasn't involved, I said no to going on that trip with them." And what John didn't know is every Friday I would meet my best friend at my house and we would be in my pool and we would drink until we were, I don't know if I can say this, Dave, but we were shit-faced. And my husband would come home and he was disappointed and we would always fight. And my son hated when I drank and he would make it very obvious, but it was the thing that we did every Friday. And that Friday before we left for Mexico, my best friend said, "How about we switch it up this week and we go to the movie theater?" And immediately what went through my mind was, is alcohol involved? And the minute that I realized alcohol wasn't involved, I said no. I said, "How about we go to the bowling alley?" And she went, "Okay." And I chose the bowling alley because I knew that there was a bar there and I knew that I could drink. So when John said that to me, my heart sank and I went, I have a major problem. So I was in the pool the next day with my son and I knew that I wasn't important enough to myself to make a promise to myself. So I looked at my son with a drink in my hand. It was awful, but I'm telling the truth. And I said to him, "Izzy, starting tomorrow, Mom is never drinking again." And he said, "Yeah, right, Mom." And I went, "No, I promise. I am never drinking again." And 3 years ago, August 14th, marked my first day of never drinking. And I have to tell you, being sober for over 3 years, it's changed my world. It's given me so much clarity and purpose to live my life the way that I pictured it being a little girl. And I knew at that point that I was ready to make a massive change with everything in my life. So I started doing certain things. And I realized that balancing work, family, and life, it was a lie. It was a major lie. I knew that I had to find my right counterbalance in order to create the world that I wanted. I didn't care what anyone else thought, but I promised myself that I would never work more than 40 hours a week. Because the truth is that when I die, work will grieve me for 6 months and then they'll replace me. But my family will grieve me forever. So that's one thing that I promised myself as I was creating this new world for myself. I then created my priority list, and we're so tremendously lucky, which I heard many of you say in the beginning of this team meeting, to be part of a company where Gary Keller shares this vision of God, family, business. Because I realized that the last 7 years of drinking and not watching my family grow into the beautiful family we have today, that I had all of these priorities backwards. You see, I thought by creating a business that I was proud of and a business would fund my family, and then God would come later down the road, right? He would always protect me. But I never I never really put those priorities in perspective for me because money became so important and something that I was really good at without the judgment of what I experienced creating or finding my family again. I realized that I didn't know my why. I knew that I needed to make really good money, but I didn't quite know what it was that I needed to make money for. So I realized that I didn't want to live to work. I wanted to work to live, but I wasn't doing that. I wasn't creating the life at home that I knew my family and I deserved. I was creating the funds to hopefully help me find that. So I don't want when my kids bury me to have hard worker on my grave. I don't. I want to create this legacy, right? The legacy that you hear all the time that they're proud of, that when they talk about me, their eyes light up. And if I were to have stopped working or died right before I quit drinking, I don't know if they would have said many happy stories about me as they were growing up into beautiful humans. I had to find what brought me joy. I really had to dig deep, and I journaled for weeks about what it was that wasn't a surface joy, what it was that if everything went away tomorrow, that I would still be able to smile about. So I journaled about this, like I said, for a really long time. And I finally found, and unfortunately, as I journaled this, my kids still didn't show up at the top until I dug so deep inside that I realized I'm doing everything for them. They didn't know that because I wasn't showing that, but that's the truth. I had to do some major self-checks along the way. Like, I checked myself hard every single time. One of the ways that I checked myself, which was really scary, was I asked my kids how they knew I loved them. And as I tell people that story, I tell them, the more scared you are to ask them, the more you need to ask them, because we're doing something wrong if we're afraid to ask our kids why we love them. We know that our priorities are probably so messed up that we're afraid to ask our kids how they know we love them. And I will tell you, my middle child will be 13 in 2 months, and I'm still afraid to ask her that question because she's mean right now. Like, I told my husband last week that she doesn't like me, and the feeling is mutual sometimes. But I did journal. So I have 7 questions that I journaled about an awful lot to try to figure out a lot of these things, the problems I was going through. And one of the things that I journaled was what I would tell my younger self. And as I journaled that, there were tears that came to my cheeks because I realized that everything I journaled about with what I would tell my younger self were things that I wanted to instill in my children that weren't being instilled because I was so focused on making a living that I wasn't living my life. I am always, which this again came the hard way, but I'm purposeful at having more good memories than bad memories. And I know that seems like, well, duh, but the truth is that sometimes we put our head down, especially with work. I mean, think about in January and all of a sudden you go, it's September, it's October, where did the year go? Well, we have to be intentional about having more good memories than bad. I put this in there that I let my kids choose their activities because sometimes we live a life that we think they're looking for, but by asking our kids what activities they want to do, we learn an awful lot about in that moment in their life, what's important to them and what brings them joy. I had calendared a reoccurring event that was pick up both of my kids from school on different days and take them out to lunch because I thought that would provide them memories, and it did for a certain amount of time. And then my oldest got into junior high and she said, do we have to do that? Like, do you have to pick me up? And I went, no. And I wanted to cry because I thought, again, I'm a really cool mom. I try to tell her and she doesn't agree, but I am. So without though that recurring event, I don't know if I would have been purposeful at having those memories that, again, are different than picking them up from school now, but we do reoccurring events in my calendar to make sure that they're getting their special one-on-one time. I turn my phone off. I mean, I know, again, this seems so simple, but when I'm at work, I want to be at work. And when I'm at home, they need to know that I am all theirs. I went to Bold in January, and our instructor encouraged us to create a new habit. And I am really good at creating habits. I love habits and goals. So one of the things that my neighbor wrote down was, I want to stop bringing my phone in my room. And I went, that is an incredible goal. I'm going to start doing that. So I moved my charger to the kitchen. And since January, I have never brought my phone in my room. So not only do my kids know that they're important when I get home, but my husband knows when we go to lay down, we're boring. We lay down at 8 and watch TV together. My phone does not go in my room. And it has been a game changer for our marriage, but even more of a game changer for my kids that I'm able to be all in by turning off my phone. I'm intentional, like super intentional. Since I quit drinking, this is one thing that all of the people at my work know about me and my family and friends, that I live each day with purpose and being extremely intentional. I found out, which I love this quote that I put in there, there are 2 most important days in your life: the day that you were born and the day that we discover what we are put on this earth to do. And I know that doesn't necessarily go with my title of how to build an empire without your kids hating you. But I think once you become intentional in life, you're happier and you're able to be more present with them. And I don't want my kids to grow up as fast as my son did. And I know it happens. I blink and my son turned 21 in January. But I realized after Gary said something to Jay that I only have 6 more spring breaks with Bree. I don't know how many more days my daughter Olivia will want to cuddle with me, or how often, how many more years or months I have where she wants to give me public hugs. But I do know that I need to take advantage of the time that we're in and take advantage of the moments when she comes and lays in bed with me just to hug me for 2 minutes. And I know that life goes really fast, and I don't want to regret working while they're growing. So, you know, the Bold law that says, what's the point? The purpose of business is to fund the perfect life. And I have realized that that's something that I need to do more often. I suffered from comparison an awful lot, but I know that I need to be so content with my life that I don't suffer from the disease called comparison anymore. I need to appreciate what I have. I need to get off of social media, because I know that social media provides us the highlight of their life, which we compare to the behind the scenes reel of our life. And the more that I can remember that the people on Mega Camp, those are their highlight reel. And I can't constantly compare my behind the scenes, which is my day-to-day life, with theirs, or with parents who say that their kids are thriving in the homeschool environment. And I'm here crying going, we are struggling so hard. So the last one, well, second to last one is I found my tribe this year, my tribe that allows me to be vulnerable with them, to grow with them, that aren't afraid to nudge me when my priorities get off track. Because living our life, especially in the year that we're in, it's easy to happen. And the last thing I just want to leave you guys with is, it is more than okay to have dreams of being a successful business owner while being an incredible parent. We can do both. You just have to remember that it's a fine line of making sure that you constantly stay in the path and on the path that you promise yourself and that you set out to live. So I'm done. I'm so sorry that, again, normally if we were in person, I'd be able to hopefully get some interaction with you guys, and I hope I didn't completely bore you. I do have a few more minutes before I have to jump on my coaching call. If you guys have any questions or have any comments, I would love to hear them.
Alicia, there's a note in the chat box that says, thank you for sharing your story and solutions to find your counterbalance. Very relatable in so many ways and currently dealing with. So I completely agree. I appreciate your vulnerability. It's hard to walk through those situations and relive some of those moments. So I appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
And Jay, if I could just acknowledge one more thing for her, please. Alicia, I want you to know that I appreciate and relate to your perseverance.
Oh, thank you so much.
Don't minimize that as part of your story as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know this was about 70% of my failures, but I always think that we learn so much more by seeing somebody fail in a really hard way like I did versus giving you guys just some tips on what we can do to live a good life. If we don't see the problems that you can have if you don't watch the path that you're on, I think that we can learn so much more from those things. So thank you guys so much. And thank you, Lisa.
You bet.
I agree. And one of the things I love about our company is that it's not about getting, 3 more closings or 5 more closings. It's really about living a better life.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Anybody else have any other questions before we wrap up today's
Alicia, yeah, JT. Alicia, it's not what you were, it's what you've become.
Yeah.
And what you're about to share and influence others because of that.
Yes. Thank you, JT.
Last call for questions. Lots of chat. Thank you. Your willingness to share your vulnerability and it's so encouraging and touched by your story. So you've really touched a lot of people this morning. All right.
Good.
Awesome.
Well, I love that.
We're going to wrap up today's meeting. Thank you, Alicia, for your time. Thanks, David, for investing part of your life into her life. That's the way our company works. And I appreciate you all. Go have a great, productive day, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.